For organizations, giving visibility to women employees is not just a nice thing to do, it is a business imperative. And there are enough published statistics to prove this.
Well, most obviously, visibility is about being seen and having a profile. But I feel what visibility also includes is the values or the point of view that you stand for.
Don't let what you cannot do stop you from doing what you can. What do I mean by this? Sometimes it's going to take a lot to change boardroom statistics, right? In every discipline, there are different levels of progress on gender that have been made when it comes to really senior level representation of women in the boardroom.
Some of the challenges that I found with women that I've worked with is, well, they know they need to increase their visibility, but they're not sure what they want from it. And so I think to successfully increase your visibility, you've got to understand why you want to do it.
Welcome to the Lead Her Roundtable. I'm Aparna Tripathi, Brand and Marketing Manager at Connexus Global. Today, I'm joined by an esteemed panel of experts. Our first speaker is Devpriya Khanna. She is the founder and CEO of Connexus Global. Devpriya is truly the best person to lead this discussion, as she herself has been a woman in corporate world for over 18 years. Her stories of when she was a management trainee with one of the world's biggest FMCG firms, right up to when she hung up her corporate boots as marketing director of a global Alcobef company, teach us younger aspirants something every day. Now, as a founder, a DEI consultant, and one of the India's leading executive brand strategists, her mission is to help women executives and entrepreneurs get visible and organizations to become more inclusive. As the driving force behind Connexus, she leads at the intersection of gender diversity, economic support, and entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Lead Her Roundtable, Devpriya.
Thank you, Aparna. Thank you. Very kind introduction.
Our next guest is Nikhil Dey. Nikhil is the executive director at AdFactors PR. He has over 25 years of PR experience with some of the largest PR and communication consultancies and is a renowned leader in his field. Nurturing talents and helping clients achieve their goals is what makes him happy. He loves learning from students of communications, teaching courses, and guest lecturing at various educational institutions. When he's not working, you will find him on the tennis court or out for long walks with his family and four-legged friends. Nikhil is an ICF certified life and leadership coach. Welcome to the Lead Her Roundtable, Nikhil.
Thank you, Aparna. Absolutely a pleasure to be here.
Our next guest is Claire Mason. Claire is the thought leadership publicist. She is a premium ghostwriter for venture capitalists, often referred to as the queen of thought leadership publicity. She is wearing her tiara as well. Claire has led marketing for reputed organizations in Ireland before she became an entrepreneur. With over 3,000 pieces of media coverage earned for clients, she is renowned for her expertise in crafting compelling content and securing publicity opportunities. Claire joins us from Dublin. Welcome to the Lead Her Roundtable, Claire.
Thank you, Aparna. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Last but not the least, our next speaker is Julie Tushingam. Julie is a reputation and business coach. She is an accredited coach and DISC expert who specializes in working with executives and emerging leaders. With 15 years of experience in PR and communications within corporate settings, coupled with her expertise as an accredited coach and licensed DISC trainer, she brings a unique blend of strategic insight and practical tools to the table. Her mission is simple: to empower organizations and its leaders to lead with authenticity, integrity, and purpose. Julie joins us from England. Welcome to the Lead Her Roundtable, Julie.
Thank you very much, Aparna. I'm thrilled to be here.
And with this, I hand over to our founder and CEO, Devpriya Khanna, to take the discussions forward.
Thank you so much, Aparna, for the very enthusiastic and a very, very kind introduction. Very warm welcome to our speakers once again. Conversations at the Lead Her Roundtable are actually immensely important for us, as our organization, Connexus, is dedicated to fostering the growth of women-led businesses and careers globally. Operating at the intersection of gender diversity and economic empowerment, Connexus unlocks access to knowledge, networks, and visibility for women-led businesses and works with organizations to help them be more inclusive. And it's also worth mentioning that we are one of the very few platforms that are bringing together leadership voices from both India and the UK on a topic as important and relevant as gender diversity at a global level. Today's roundtable revolves around the crucial topic of visibility for women at the workplace. A topic which is really close to my heart, and we were chatting about this backstage, Julie and I, when she was asking me, why did you think about this topic? And I think as we go along, we'll talk about why this topic is so important. But in a world where representation matters more than ever, how can women ensure their voices are heard and their contributions recognized? And with that, I open the panel with a question to all our speakers. What does the word lead her mean to you? And in a bit to be very inclusive and balanced, I will start with Mr. Nikhil Dey. Nikhil, what is lead her to you? What comes up for you?
Well, actually, what's coming up for me is my wife. Actually, she's a senior communications leader. She's led from the front. She's championed every in every organization she's been in. She has, I think, earned respect for the function, and clearly she's the boss when it comes to the two of us. So lead her. I think both in a professional and a personal context, I think of her. So Deepa, wherever you are right now, you lead. Yeah.
And I can totally vouch for that, having known Deepa for so many years, that she leads on all fronts and she is a true leader. So Nikhil, thanks for putting a persona to the word. That was very useful. Claire, would you take a shot at it now?
Yes, thank you, Divapriya. For me, I love the playfulness of the word. I love that it's, we're talking about leadership here, and it's another way of looking at it. And that's, for me, why diversity is so important to begin with, because it means that there are new ideas coming into the table or coming onto the table. And then the other aspect of lead her that I like is that we've had these minds for so many years about, what did we call them? Soft skills. And I know recently they're being rebranded now as power skills, actually, and I think not a moment too soon. So I love the idea of actually incorporating what may be considered qualities that might lead more towards the female or feminine energy, whatever way we want to look at it, into the whole aspect of leadership.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. I love the transition from soft skills to power skills. And it is, soft skills are actually the hard skills now. That's what it is, right? I'd love to hear from you, Julie. What does leader mean to you?
I thought about this for a bit when you sent through our prep document. What does lead her mean to me? And for me, it means exactly what it says, because my philosophy is, as a woman, we open the door for other women and leave it open for them to come through. And that phrase has been around for us for a while. And I like it so much, because I think if you're in a position where you can help another woman, just reach out your hand and bring her through that door with you. So lead her to succeed, lead her and show her opportunities that are there for her. So I took a rather literal approach to it.
And that's beautiful, Julie. And I also truly, this is something that resonates with me as well, that if someone has left a door open for me, it is my duty and my responsibility to keep it open, hold it open rather, not just keep it open. And there's a difference. Hold it open so that future leaders can walk through. And one of the reasons why we really I set up Connexus was to be the hand that I didn't have to hold when I was during those 18 years of my corporate journey. We had to man up, we had to sort of, boss up, and there was all this didn't exist at that time. DEIB, inclusivity, this, that. We were just supposed to leave our feminine side at home and come to work and sort of, get on with it. And we did. And later in my entrepreneurial career, also in my entrepreneurial journey, and every day, even now, it was tough. It is tough. So in our own way at Connexus and through these conversations, if we can create something, if we can create some shift and some transformation in the lives of other women, future leaders, and all of those who will walk through that door, I think that's the impact that we've all set out to create. And each person in this room today, I would say, all three of you, and people who get attracted to topics that we put out there, we're all fellow allies. I would say we're all, people on the same journey. To me, leader, again, is a very literal combination of the terms lead and her. And to me, I'd take it further. I'd say that it represents an actionable and intentional approach to promoting and supporting female leadership, not just within organizations, but also in the broader business community. Less words, more deeds. So we've had enough conversations. Let's just get going, and let's sort of create some action, create some tangible impact. And therefore, to me, it involves really creating ecosystems where women are not only encouraged to take on leadership roles, but are also provided with the resources, with the mentorship and opportunities that are needed to thrive, regardless of whether you're an executive or an entrepreneur, because either ways you're impacting business, and it's just plain intelligent economics to empower and to sort of enable 50% of the population. So for me, that's what lead her is. Every time I think about it, and it just gets sharpened, the focus just gets sharpened, the vision just gets sharpened. So coming to today's topic, visibility. When women are visible in all spheres of life, whether it's politics, business, arts, STEM fields, it challenges stereotypes, and it does break down barriers somewhere, even if it's a small barrier. And there are enough published statistics to prove this. One of which is a study by McKinsey, which says that companies with more women in leadership positions are 21% more likely to outperform their competitors. And 21% on a large base is not a small number in absolute terms, right? And when employees are considering a career change, and again, was reading up a lot, so I came across this percentage of 48% of people are at any point in time contemplating a career change. When they do that, diversity initiatives will play an even more significant role in retaining your current employees and attracting new ones, because you stand out as a strong employer brand. And women in particular are evaluating diversity based on visibility. And Julie, that's the reason I felt the need to bring this topic out there to the round table, so that we could really sort of deliver our perspectives from different geographies, different genders, and different, the different work that we do. I feel that visibility is an answer to questions and concerns about diversity in many aspects. But before we deconstruct this whole concept of how visibility can take shape and what are some of the tools, I want to sort of talk about what is visibility, especially at the workplace. I want to break it down, and I will turn to Claire for this. Claire, I'd like to ask you, how do you define visibility in the context of women's presence in organizations?
Well, most obviously, visibility is about being seen and having a profile. But I feel what visibility also includes is the values or the point of view that you stand for. And perhaps that's obvious coming from a publicist, because here I'm revealing the secrets of how you land publicity. Basically, you have a story and that's predicated on a point of view, and that's how you get editorial interest and all the rest. But it's when you have a point of view, or you're clear about what your value system is and you stand for that, that people start to understand who you are and the change and the impact that you can make in a team. Then if we go a little bit broader in the organization or the business as a whole, and then if we go broader still in an industry, and then we can start speaking at national and global level. But firstly, it has to be about making sure you're seen, and that's perhaps the most obvious element about being visible. But we're sitting in an environment where obviously, and I'm talking about a global macroeconomic environment, where the whole topic of diversity is becoming more and more pronounced, because for so long, many different segments, if I can say that, of society, women being one of them, have not been visible in the workplace. So I feel we're also in an era now where we're looking to redress that imbalance.
Yes, it's all about sort of redressing that imbalance, and that's not going to happen overnight, because women in visibility, a lot of reports show that women are less likely than men to receive credit for their contribution. So it's basically the women who are hesitant. Men not giving it is the next level. It's the next part of the story. And women's ideas are often attributed to male colleagues or overlooked altogether. I'm sure we've got enough examples. I was reading, again, did a lot of research, and because I work with, women in visibility is an important area of my work with women and their executive branding. I do go through a lot of stuff around it. And I came across a Harvard Business Review article, which sort of pointed out that women employ intentional invisibility when they avoid conflict with colleagues, soften their assertiveness with niceness, just in order to get stuff done, by quietly moving things forward without drawing attention to themselves. And when I read it, it struck a chord with me. We don't think about this deeply enough, but there are enough and more examples. But the consequence of this approach is that they often end up feeling well-liked, but underappreciated. Right? And in this context, I want to ask you, Julie, you work with leaders and executives to build more inclusive workplaces. Could you share some insights on the unique challenges faced by women regarding visibility and advancement opportunities?
Yes, I like what you said there about, really, it's almost a battle between being assertive and being liked for women, isn't it? Sometimes they get caught up in the disease to please and sacrifice unique opportunities that could increase their visibility. And that has been my experience working with a lot of women who are looking to, increase their visibility in the workplace. Some of the challenges that I've found with women that I've worked with is they know they need to increase their visibility, but they're not sure what they want from it. And so I think to successfully increase your visibility, you've got to understand why you want to do it. Is it because you want more speaking opportunities? Is it because you want a promotion? Is it because you want a pay increase? You've got to know why you want to do it. And once you understand why, then you can achieve the goal. So understanding what's driving you, what's behind it, will help you make responsible and well-informed choices. My experience has also been that women will expect to be recognized for their hard work. And this is a popular misconception, particularly amongst women. Apologies, Nicole, not so much amongst men. But women will work very hard on a project, get everything done, cross all the I's, dot all the T's, is nice to everybody, deliver the project, but they expect to receive the visibility and recognition for just doing the hard work. And I think this goes back to when we're in school, women tend to focus on, again, hard work, getting the grades. being liked by the teacher, getting along with everybody in the classroom. And when we get into the workplace, it's hard to transfer those skills and understand what you really need to do to increase visibility at work. To increase your visibility, going back to what I said earlier, it's A, understanding why, and B, putting your hand up and being courageous, putting your hand up and taking the initiative to stand up for those visible projects. What's going to increase you with the stakeholders who are important to you, and help you achieve whatever that goal is. So understanding why, bringing in courage, understanding you've got to change your mindset too, from being involved in all the work, getting better at delegating, showing up where you need to show up. So that's a lot of information. I hope it's clear there, but that they would be my recommendations into how to advance.
It is a lot of resonation, I would say, resonance. If not just a lot of information, but a lot of boxes that are being ticked in terms of, yes, I can feel this, and yes, I've been there, and a lot of heads nodding, including some comments. The virtual heads are nodding in the comments section. So Shanti, who's logged in from Italy, she is saying that we hope people will see us without asking, without us having to ask, right? And we brought up not to be too loud. It's a fact. Intention, she says that she can see intentional invisibility in so many cases. And Geetika says that women can first be confident themselves and feel good about their presence to leave an impact with their visibility. And Kavita is saying, more often than not, women are totally unpracticed in the art of talking about their accomplishments or contributions. Women feel awkward promoting self, and don't we all know that? Right? And I love what Stuti is saying, that some of us are also seasonal believers of the idiom empty vessels make the most sound. Hence, we prefer to be intentionally invisible. And I've been in corporate settings and meetings where, if a female colleague has spoken a lot or is just piping in, as they say, or adding or contributing to the discussion, I've heard male colleagues saying, and why male colleagues, even women saying, calling it quote unquote desperate class participation. There she goes, desperate class participation. I've heard this myself. So there's a lot, and Julie, a lot of what you said is about women, what women need to do to get visible, where the onus is on women. Additionally, I strongly believe that, of course, women, we do need to do what it takes, and we need to step up. But additionally, creating inclusive environments where women can thrive requires a combination of efforts, concerted efforts from other individuals, from organizations, from policymakers. And in that context, I want to ask Nikhil, how can organizations ensure that their internal and external communication strategies are inclusive and representative of diverse voices, including those of women leaders?
Yeah, thank you, DP. Julie, I'll pick up a thread from what you said, which was, I think, directed more towards women leaders or just women professionals. And you said the why matters, right? They have to really get clear about why they want to be visible. And I would extend that to the organization's context as well. And I think the why matters from an organizational lens as well. If the why is because it is the compliant need, or like there's a lot of pressure right now and I just need to tick that box, I think that's, well, it's better than nothing, but that's not going to unlock the true value proposition of embracing diversity. And I think one of the things that I have learned in my journey of working from many years in different organizations is I never really thought about it in the initial phase. And Julie, we were talking backstage about a phrase that is used often in the context of gender diversity, which is you can't be what you can't see. And I think the context of which that was used is that women have to be role models for other women to follow. But I think it's equally true for men. If you look at it, in my family, my grandmother and my mother, which are the two, well, I guess, role models that I have of women growing up, were both homemakers. I don't have a reference point of a professional woman in my childhood years. I'm lucky that as I got into the workplace, because the public relations industry does have more women than other industries, I was lucky to have female bosses, right? Leaders who I could look up to and respect and say, wow, right? I want to be like her one day. Even for me, right? It's not about just a woman looking at a woman saying, I want to emulate that. So I think the organizational context of why one needs to embrace diversity needs to really be underlined. And Devapriya made a few statistics come alive. I'll add to that. This is another study by McLean and Company, which looked at different team compositions and the quality of their decisions and decision making when given a problem to solve. And an all-male team made better decisions 58% of the time. You add in gender diversity from 58, that jumps to 73%. And you add in age and gender diversity, because ageism is also a thing, and both ways. The very young don't get paid attention to, and the 50 plus are starting to be in that silver economy. It jumps to 80%. And if you add age, gender, and geography in terms of diversity, decisions made by teams are 87% of the time better than if there isn't diversity. So it's just best business practice, right? It's in the interest of the business. Now, if an organization can see that and truly get that, then nobody's doing anybody any favors. It's just the smart thing to do. And I think that message really, while the data is there, the drum has to be beaten again and again. More people need to pause, think, and then act, keeping that kind of data in mind. Yeah, so I think that the why from an organizational lens is hugely important.
It is hugely important, Nikhil. Thank you for adding some statistics to the mix. But the good thing is there is a lot of data out there, and the good thing is that there's data out there, because when you put data along with the why and the emotions surrounding this particular topic, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is what it is now, DEIB. When you add hard data, then what you can measure, it gets done, is what I believe. So moving over from the corporate organizations to the startup ecosystem, some more data. According to a study by the National Venture Capital Association and Deloitte, only 12% of decision makers at VC firms are women. No surprise to Claire, right? And this lack of diversity at the top can hinder the inclusivity of thought leadership within the VC industry. So Claire, specifically, in the context of thought leadership, can you share your perspective on the importance of DEI, particularly in the work that you do with VCs?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to the point that I was making around values and your point of view. It's really a case of carving out a space for yourself. And I'm not denying the systemic inequalities that have been present. What I am always advocating for is, I say to people, you don't have to be like Jeff Bezos and spend $250 million buying the Washington Post for yourself. You can actually get your stories into multiple publications. And I'm also, I'm not here to tell you that the media is this perfect fourth estate, but I work with the media every day of my business life, and I can tell you that they are hungry for stories. So if you actually place a spotlight above your own head and put yourself in front of editors and podcast producers and all the rest, you can actually start carving that visibility for yourself. And as a result, you win a lot of benefits for yourself, both from the point of view, if we're talking specifically in a VC context, you know, you start attracting founders that are really going places and could be the very best founders. I mean, just a statistic that I'll share there, that I don't have any insight into perhaps a male-female divide, but 2% of VC firms and venture capitalists themselves actually have captured 95% of the top, let's call them the tech unicorns, that have gone on to have like massive growth and, you know, turned into highly profitable businesses in the last 10 years. And that can be attributed to content. Now, I know this conversation is not around content, it's around visibility. But how do you make yourself visible? By putting content out there, by speaking, by appearing on panels, by having articles published, interviews published, building your profile. So you can, when you make yourself more visible, in whichever way suits you, that could be a YouTube video, it could be establishing your brand on LinkedIn, it could be running webinars, it could be, you know, speaking at live events. You're winning all these benefits for yourself. Perhaps that's promotion, it's attracting business leads, but then you're also making a bigger impact in the industry that you work in. Again, from the point of view of being visible, opening doors for other people, introducing new ideas, you know, influencing policy, all these things that really do go towards creating a fairer society.
Do you see a difference between men and women venture capitalists? So there are a lot of fewer women. Obviously, you can count on your fingers. But do you see them seeking out visibility in different ways, or not seeking out visibility at all?
If I think about my personal experience, I do work with more male VCs than I work with female VCs. Interestingly enough, venture capitalists who are based in Europe, I see the female VCs in Europe taking more opportunity to be visible than what I'm seeing from female VCs in the States, which is surprising, because actually it's the other way around from a tech founder point of view, because I work with both VCs and founders. So I don't know if that's just because perhaps there's more of a push from a policy side here. I mean, we've got, you know, the Financial Times, they've got a whole tech startup media ecosystem called sifted.eu. Women VCs appear a lot in that, and they've really joined forces to create communities and hubs, and they're really driving the VC and you know, funding roadmap forward, because we also know funding has changed quite considerably in the last 2 years. You know, it's become much more difficult to raise funding. So I noticed that from a geographical point of view, that in Europe, I'm being approached by a lot of female VCs who really want that share of the spotlight. But in general, I will say VCs like to keep a low profile, but then they're missing out on some very big returns. But that's what I can say from an anecdotal point of view, my own experience.
Thank you, Claire. And I'd say that that's true of every industry, every walk of professional life. That if you don't show up, if you're going to remain the world's best kept secret, if you're not going to be visible, how will people know you? Firstly, there's this whole KLT factor: know, like, and trust. So if people know you, there's awareness. If they like you, it's an additional benefit. But if they trust you, they definitely will do business with you. And it all starts with visibility. So not just VCs, I think in every walk of life, right?
Exactly, because if I could just jump in there, I also speak a lot about know, like, and trust. But before someone can know you, they have to see you. So there's still a step to take before somebody can know, like, and trust you. And that's the point of this conversation you're having with all of us, Devapriya, is how important visibility is. It's not marketing fluff. It's the absolute foundational piece from which everything happens from an organization point of view, as well as a wider economic point of view.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more about the fact that it's not vanity metrics. It's not marketing fluff. It is all about positioning your reputation. Right. And speaking about reputation, I'd like to go over to Julie for some time now. Julie, you rightfully say that reputation is a person's most valuable asset.
Mm.
And so, can you share some practical tips for women to build their visibility and influence within their industries and organizations? How
Oh,
can they
sure.
build their, reputation? How can they get visible? Some very doable ideas, if you can give us.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Love to share some experience there. I think first of all, understanding the difference between reputation and personal brand is important. They are two different things, and your personal brand is what you say about you, and your reputation is what others say about you when you're not in the room. So knowing what you want to be known for and how you want to be seen is very important when you build your reputation. And understanding that requires a little bit of research on your part, asking those that you trust what you're known for and how you're seen. Particularly if it's in the workplace, if you want to, again, going back to why, and I loved the points that Nicole made earlier on, once you know why you want to get to where you want to go to, because that's how you will be successful once you have a goal in mind. Doing the research, finding out what people understand about you right now, and if there's anything that you need to change. What are the misconceptions or wrong perceptions of you that may not be true to who you are? Look at how you can fix that, what you can do, explore that, be open to feedback. Be clear about what your values are, what you stand for. I think Claire touched on this earlier when she said, standing for something, having the courage to stand up for something in a very assertive way, not combative. There's a fine line there, is important to building your reputation, because people will say, oh yes, that's Claire, she's known for wearing her crown. It's part of your brand. Yes, because that's part of your marketing. Your brand is more of your marketing. It's what you say about you. Okay, so be clear about what the split is. How you show up, what your values are, be consistent, be ethical, be prepared. Preparation. I work with so many clients who don't understand that being prepared, while may not be hot-wired into their DNA, to build your reputation, you need to be prepared. Being prepared is knowing why you're somewhere. Always know why you are there and what you want from that meeting. So mapping back to purpose. Building trust. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Build that integrity, that reliability. Adapt. Be ready to adapt, because your clients or your workplace colleagues are always ready to adapt. We're the biggest measure of adaptability, I think, at the moment is how we're responding to AI, for example. So being ready to adapt and looking for opportunities. Building reputation includes being inclusive. Look for that person who may not be part of the conversation, who may be standing on the outside. Bring them in. Be known for being inclusive, if that's part of your value system. Look for opportunities to lift other women up. Nurture your environment. And when I say nurture it, this, to me, is the foundation of building reputation and success. It's building the environment that you want to thrive in. It's hard to succeed if you're not clear about what you want to succeed in, but also spending time with people who have achieved or are on the same track as you are. I always say, and this is not to poke fun at anyone intentionally, but if you want to run a marathon, hang out with people who want to run marathons. They think differently, they eat differently, they behave differently. Their mindset is different from, say, others who may be, gardeners, for example. I'm a gardener. I'm not thinking about how I can get to the finish line. I'm thinking about what kind of soil do I need to put my plant in so that it survives and provides good blooms. So I'm not the best person to hang out with if you want to run a marathon, right? So put yourself in a successful environment, in a positive environment, because that will support you. So that there are some tips there for how to nurture and build reputation.
And that was pure gold. There's so much in there. I think we'll play back this recording sometime, and I'm going to take notes for sure. But yeah, and I loved what you said about assertive versus combative. And honestly, there is a thin line between so many of these things, you know, two spectrums which come close, but there is actually a very thin line. Assertive is not aggressive or combative, but a strong woman is often looked at as being aggressive. And,
if I could just jump in there, Devapriya, I think building that awareness revolves to the line between the two, because sometimes we're triggered by what we perceive ourselves to be as aggressive, but in fact we're not. We're being assertive. You're absolutely right. There's a fine line, but I think with many of my clients, I've had to work really hard on that mindset shift, that because you say this and disagree, you're not being combative or aggressive. You're sharing your views, your opinion, and that's important.
absolutely. And in all of this, we can't deny the fact that male allyship is crucial both in the workplace and equally at home for advancing gender equality and for making it sustainable. And I want to ask Nikhil, I want to come back to you on this. Given your position as a male ally, what actions do you believe are crucial for men to take in supporting the visibility and advancement of women in professional settings? And you may also talk about personal settings, because honestly, to me, it's work-life integration and bringing your whole self to work. So to me, it's not very different. And honestly, my personal belief and experience is that your strongest male ally is actually at home. And that's reflected outwards in how you sort of, you don't do a lot of the things that Julie also mentioned, Claire also mentioned. So can you talk to us a bit about that?
Definitely, DP. Thank you. Because I think that's a really important one. It may sound tactical, but I think it comes down to that, right? After all the statistics and all the big words and everything else, it comes down to that moment of truth when you act or you don't, all right? As a male leader or as a partner. So a few of the things that over the years I've tried to integrate based on my growing awareness of the importance of this. One would be the whole concept of panels versus manels, right? There are many times I get invited to speak on occasions like this. And if, for instance, there happened to be a set of men that were going to be talking on this, I would have knocked back on your door and said, hey, DP, can we get some diversity on this panel? I would. So I haven't. There are some people I know who have refused to be on a panel, but I don't think it's about that. It's not about right or wrong. It's about nudging people to think, right? So every time I get invited on a panel, I ask the question. I'd like to know who the others are, and I hope there is adequate diversity. I don't make it only gender specific, but I definitely do ask that question. So I think this whole panel thing is an easy one. So if you're a man listening to this and you have privileged enough to get invited to speak and share your views, I think that's a simple first step you can do to ask the organizers. It may be an unconscious bias. It may not even have occurred to the organizer, unfortunately. So that could be one. The second, I think, is don't let what you cannot do stop you from doing what you can. What do I mean by this? Sometimes it's going to take a lot to change boardroom statistics, right? In every discipline, there are different levels of progress on gender that have been made when it comes to really senior level representation of women in the boardroom. But one of the things, for example, we've done is we've created a millennial board. We started this idea 3 years ago. We constituted a millennial board of 16 young people under the age of 30 with all kinds of diversity included: geographical, gender, sexual preferences, religion. So we've really looked at all the aspects that we could think of, and we're starting, right? So do something. Don't say, oh, that's going to take time, or I don't know if our organization's ready to do that. Do something. And this is an example of what that something could be in an organization. If you don't want a board, but you can identify those young sparks and give them disproportionate speaking power, listen to them, hear them, and bring in diversity through that. So that would be the second. Third would be in a meeting, if you have, again, the chance to hold a meeting, and I just think giving everybody a chance to speak, not making only the bright spark or the senior person, literally just asking everybody in the meeting if they would have something to share. But yeah, I think that's a big part of inclusion, and that encourages even from a gender lens. So getting everybody a chance to speak would be my third. The fourth would be at internal events. If you're doing a town hall or if you're doing any kind of an internal event, again, look through the lens of, is there adequate diversity represented on the stage, on the agenda, on the things that we are bringing to our audience? Because these are signals. And as a leader, if you're thinking like that, then I think you're a champion for diversity and inclusion. And maybe I'd wrap it all up under the heading of psychological safety. Because even if you do all of these things and you haven't worked on creating a culture of psychological safety in your organization, then it's still going to be tokenism. Then you're going to have the mandatory woman speaker or the panel on something, but you're not going to genuinely get an outpouring of what's really going on. And I think that psychological safety is a much bigger piece, but I would just end by saying that there are 4 kinds of psychological safety. There's inclusion safety, there's learner safety, there is contributor safety, and then there's challenger safety. And I think if you can get to a point where it feels safe to respectfully say, I disagree, and know that we can still be friends at the end of it, that's a winning team that you've created. So these are some of the things that I try in big and small ways to champion in every organization I worked in.
Very interesting. And I can't resist asking you, how do you ensure psychological safety on a day-to-day basis? Just some of the things, what does it look like?
It looks like when something bad happens, and oftentimes bad things happen, my initial reaction used to be, how could you, right? Rather than that, I have to say, thank you for telling me. I'm glad that you have brought it to my attention, and we'll figure this out, right? So don't shoot the messenger, because otherwise they'll stop coming to you with problems. And don't make the problem about the person. Make it about, okay, we have a problem, and that's not you. We have a problem. So I think those are the cues that I have to remind myself and model behavior, so that my team then starts seeing that, okay, this is I'm not scared to say I made a mistake. Otherwise, mistakes are just hidden and they're covered up, and that's bad. So that's a very tactical piece. And I realized, DP, just to jump into the personal, I didn't answer that, but just one anecdote I think brings what the personal place is. I told you my wife was in a very high-powered, high-profile job. So I was lucky at that point of time that I was forced by circumstance to attend every parent-teacher meeting of my son when he was growing up and go for every birthday party. So all the birthday parties, which was just mommies, had yours truly over there. And there was a lot of unconscious bias, because there was like, what's he doing here? Doesn't he have anything better to do? Or is his wife not able to? So there is bias against men showing up by women also. But I can only tell you that I'm so grateful for that now, because my son is grown and now studying in the US. But I value every minute, though I grumbled a bit at that time. But in retrospect, it was one of the best things that I did. So I just thought I'd share that with other young fathers. If you are listening, grab those moments. They're precious.
And you met a lot of moms. So
I left that out. Yes, my wife keeps telling me that all the yummy mummies that I met at those birthday parties. I'm not complaining. Yes,
but you're so right about stereotypes and unconscious bias. And we have a participant here, Stuti. She called it out sometime back in the comments. Unconscious bias and stereotyping. Why is this dad around? The mom is neglecting the kids and the family. Look at this father; he doesn't have much to do. Maybe he doesn't have a job, and things like that. These things we women do it to ourselves. So we can talk about male allies, all of that, but what about women being? It all starts there as well. So the whole sisterhood, the whole bonding. Because see, in my opinion, in my experience, men have to be told a lot. And this goes back to a very interesting conversation, Nikhil, you and I had I think a few months ago, where we said that men will do it, but you need to tell them, have you voiced it out? Are you holding resentment, not having voiced out your needs and requirements? So men have to be told a lot of times. I understand that. But women, we can feel it, right? We walk in those shoes. We know where the shoe pinches. So why is it that we are not rallying together more and more? That is something that, for me, it's a mission. It's a mission for me. And those of you who've worked with me, that this is a mission for me to enable, and I don't use the word empower because we are empowered already, but really be a catalyst for women and fight against all. I would say fight, but basically do something to move the needle against issues like unconscious bias, stereotyping, ageism. You spoke about that. Ageism is a big thing that I'm trying to advocate against at both ends of the spectrum. So a lot of things, this conversation can go to another level. Let me just rein it back in. Let me pull it back. And I want to jump to you, Claire, before we sort of, move on to another couple of practical questions. I want to ask you, Claire, how does imposter syndrome and the reluctance to invest in personal branding, how do those things act as a barrier to women becoming visible or consciously taking up visibility?
Yeah, so they become self-limiting beliefs. So again, I'm always going to advocate for women, and I'm going to advocate for all the clients I work with to take their fair share of the media spotlight, because that's the work I do. But I'm not ignorant of the broader systemic situation that has, led to the inequality that we're talking about. That said, I'm really pleased to hear what you said yourself about the word empower, because I think that can become a little bit problematic, because we need to earn that power that we have. And so I like the word elevate, actually. And one of the ways we can do that for ourselves, and again, it's not just this idea that you build a personal brand or you take your fair share of visibility just for the me factor, everything you can get out of it. It's also for how you can influence the broader community. And, we've spoken about this already at large. In terms of, so we all know how imposter syndrome happens. And I do want to say that I work with a lot of men, and I can tell you I do a lot of media mindset training with them as well. They also have imposter syndrome. So the society we've created hasn't done any of us any favors in terms of building, really healthy self-esteem. So that's the work we have to now do as individuals. And if enough of us do it, then let's hope we actually do impact in terms of making a healthier, broader society. But imposter syndrome really takes us out of opportunities that, rightly could find us or rightly are ours. So something that I see all the time is when my clients start becoming more visible on LinkedIn, because I work predominantly in a B2B space, editors and journalists and podcast hosts and producers find them and offer them these opportunities to elevate themselves. And then there could be a question of, well, why would they want to talk to me? I'm not qualified enough. I'm not really sure. Those kinds of really unhealthy thoughts and unhealthy beliefs that we hold about ourselves. And then that takes us out of these opportunities that if we stepped into them, feel a bit nervous, but stepped into them anyway, what would happen? It would become a compound effect and we would get more and more opportunities coming our way. So imposter syndrome comes with a very, very high cost.
Yes, it does. It does. And Julie, apart from imposter syndrome and the lack of personal branding, do you think there are other challenges that women face that leads them to lean into unintentional invisibility or intentional invisibility, for that matter? What are some of the challenges here?
Yeah, we'd be here all night. I love what Claire said about imposter syndrome. There are so many ways that we can hold ourselves back. I think the one I have encountered the most, particularly with emerging leaders, is, and I hear it time and time again, and Claire and Nicole, you may have heard this too, is I am not going to work with that person because they don't like me. And I'll say, well, what do you mean they don't like you? Well, they don't do this and they don't do that, but it simply comes down to a different way of working and a different communication style. The person I've been working with most recently, in fact, a meeting with them earlier today, they're very expressive, they're very inspirational. They like to influence people and bring them along with them. But the person who is their manager is actually quite directive, gets straight to the point, takes action fast, and is more task oriented. This person that I'm coaching is more people oriented. It comes down to a difference in styles. And I think if we can take the personal out of it, it's not about us. It's about what needs to be done in the way that we communicate and how can we best adapt our style to getting the job done or making the sale or whatever it is. It's building that self-awareness that really it's not about us and we should not hold ourselves back, but step up, to use Claire's term earlier, and step into the opportunity and take the personal away. So it's communication and maybe some triggering there. There are different situations that trigger us going back to childhood that remind us of something else. And we think, oh, that's not my place. I'm not supposed to be there. So I think these are things that I see come up time and time again, ways that we hold ourselves back.
Thank you, Julie. And you're right. I mean, if we actually started discussing all the challenges and pitfalls, we will be here all night. And I don't mind. I don't mind. No. Probably we could do this backstage, stay up all night discussing things that matter. There's a comment in the, I'm seeing, Tani, you're saying that you've been hearing about ageism and it's still a floating discussion. And she hopes that issues like this will be addressed seriously. I think ageism, so you have gender diversity, and then you have the lens of gender, and then you have ageism, and then you have your ethnic minority or a woman of color, and you put all of that into the mix, and surely sometimes you cannot help that imposter syndrome from rearing its ugly head. How strong can you be? How strong and how many things can you really work through? And again, I saw a comment from Geetika. She said that coaches at all phases of life are important, and I really acknowledge that, because it's very difficult to do a lot of this work all by yourself, no matter how strong you are, no matter how resilient and determined you may be. I'm a very strong advocate of getting external help, somebody who will show you the mirror and help you work through some of these challenges. So that's something I just wanted to put out there, that, many corporate leaders, women who are on the rise, who are navigating these different challenges, should reach out to coaches and get a helping hand, reach out to mentors within organizations and get a helping hand, reach out to sponsors. I mean, it's all there. Lot more now than ever before. One needs to just ask. And I mean, my last question really will be to Nikhil, because the hour has just zipped by. And I want to ask you, Nikhil, we did talk about if you can see it, you can be it. So do you have any examples of successful visibility campaigns or maybe some effective strategies that come to your mind that have significantly impacted the representation of women in business and leadership?
Yes, DP. And since we were talking a little bit about coaching in that last piece, I'll link my answer to that. I often say that as a coach, my role is to be an awareness and accountability partner, to bring awareness to my client about what it is that is going on or what they really want to focus on, and then help them on their journey, or I wouldn't say help, support them on their journey to stay accountable to whatever actions that they want. If I look at that construct from the lens of a communicator and visibility, it is about a campaign that made me as a man first think, right? It stopped me in my tracks and I was like, wow, I never thought of that, right? So that's bringing something to my awareness on the topic of diversity and inclusion, and then introspect and then act. So if I were to think about campaigns that possibly did that, there are two that definitely pop up in my head. One is by a brand which many of us have used, Ariel, and it's a well-known campaign. It's called Share the Load. So the product is used for as a detergent for washing, and therefore when you have laundry to do, there's this, and they have a lot of research backing it to share that it was thought to be a woman's job to do laundry, and to change that perception, right? So when they did this in 2015, they said 2 out of 3 women felt that there was inequality between how people looked at laundry. Doing laundry was just not a man's job, and hence this campaign #ShareTheLoad brought that into the consciousness of men, right? It was dinner table conversation, it was boardroom conversation, because sales also got impacted. But I think that was a really interesting campaign, and why I like it is it had longevity. It began in 2014, but it ran year after year after year, I think up to 2020 or so. And every year they took a different aspect of sharing the load. So one year it was around how you share the load so that your partner can get as much sleep as you, because women were sleeping less than men. And every year they had a build on it, and it had many, many legs. So that was one that had a clear call to action that I think changed some behavior. And the second one was an ad agency, I think it was called CPB London, but the copy of their ads was really simple. It said, imagine a nurse. Is it a man or is it a woman? So actually the copy was, is it a woman? Then it said, imagine somebody leaving early to pick up your kids. Is it a woman? Imagine somebody at a board meeting. Is it a man? Imagine somebody, so on and so forth, right? So there are typecast roles for men and women, and it brought this into shit. Even I have that unconscious bias or conscious bias. But what I loved about it is they had an addition to it where they created a coloring book for kids to say, let's rewrite that script. And it said, imagine a nurse, and you could draw whatever you wanted over there. So it just asked us to imagine a different world. So there was not just smart content, there was a call to action, there was introspection. And I think these two are brilliant examples of campaigns that I think touched me, at least. So yeah, it's
great
from there.
Examples. Yeah, great examples, Nikhil. I mean, of course, I love the Share the Load campaign. It's really good. Even P&G has some campaigns that they do very well. I think this is a lot of these campaigns, but you're right that this one particularly has lasted. They've sustained the message and they've looked at different things. And Ajanta, thank you for putting the link, YouTube link of the ad of the campaign here. so that people who are not in India can now check it out. And Claire, Julie, Shanti, Sam, all of you who are not from here, please look at this, because it'll probably tie together everything that we've spoken about. Really great examples, Nikhil. Thank you so much. And before we wrap up, any last thoughts? I know we've spoken a lot, but Claire, Julie, Nikhil, anything that you would like to say, anything that you'd like to leave us with? I love what Shanti is saying. It's like pink is for girls and blue for boys. I mean, so my 10-year-old hates pink now. I gave her so much of pink when she was growing up that now she sees pink and she just runs in the opposite direction. So I think these youngsters are now getting quite inclusive and balanced, I must say. So her favorite color is blue. She's broken all stereotypes, being a girl. But over to you. Any last comments? Any last thoughts that you would like to leave us with? Then we'll wrap it up.
Just to say that alongside conversations, I think questions are really powerful. As long as we even, this is a topic a little bit different to what we're speaking about, but with all the hype we see around AI, I really do feel that we need to keep asking questions, because as long as we're asking questions, we do stand a chance to create a different future and a different society.
Yeah, I agree, Claire. Yeah, staying curious is essential to the speed that we are evolving at, particularly around the tech space. But one thing I would say about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is sometimes the results and the data don't truly reflect the effort and the changes that are being made. There is change in the workplace. The companies are hiring differently. Leaders are gradually shifting to thinking differently, and change takes time. It's easy for us to become demotivated when it doesn't happen quick enough, but it is a shift. There is a shift in practices and thinking. So if you are looking to raise visibility, to make a change in that space, just don't lose heart. Keep going.
Yeah, and I would say, DB, thank you for creating the space, and that's what we should do. Just create spaces like this, bring this topic back onto the table, and let's learn from each other. We have to keep going.
Thank you so much. And I think the next topic will be ageism. We have to bring this back into the mix, and we're going to talk about, Nikhil, so all this while, ageism in my head was about the older generation, but you spoke about ageism from both the spectrums. So it would be a very, very interesting roundtable to have older, have intergenerational representation on one of these roundtables. I think I got to think about that. So thanks, Nikhil, for seeding that thought. And as we wrap up today's Leader Roundtable, I want to thank you, our amazing panelists, Nikhil, Julie, and Claire, for sharing your experiences, insights, and wisdom with us. You've brought so much into the mix. I'm going to be thinking a lot about some of the points that you've raised. I've been making notes. Thank you as we work towards a more equitable and inclusive future for all. Until next time, let's keep the momentum going and continue to be leaders and to lead her.